Cool. All right, guys. So we're going to crack into it. I've got just barely over an hour today, so we're just going to get through the big questions straight away. Won't waste any time. We'll get straight into it. I've got a. It doesn't matter what I've got on, but I've got an hour. Okay, so let's get straight into it, guys. For those who weren't here last week or weren't able to ask questions, we had module 4, needs and boundaries. Hopefully, there's some good knowledge and stuff that have landed from that. We're about to get into module 5, parts work. So this is where, as of now, we are out of the investigate phase, all right, of the psyche method. We've learned everything we've needed for separate and investigate. There's no more education for teach you. Now we move into the collaborate phase, all right? So now we look at taking everything that we've applied, or everything that we've learned, and the next couple of modules, the next phase of this journey is, okay, well, how do I actually collaborate with myself? Right, I've separated, I've investigated. If something pops up, I know, okay, there's a loop there, there's a pattern, there's a blueprint, story, belief, value, identity. There's a part of my brain that's firing. Maybe it's executive, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's survival. I can investigate that and find out where I'm at. I know what needs I'm trying to have fulfilled in this moment, and I understand how to set boundaries with myself. I've got a great knowledge base. Now we look at going, okay, how do I work with myself? How do I collaborate? So that way I can honor how I feel 100%, lean into the truth of emotional expression 100%, rewrite some stories and be there for myself 100%, but not let how I feel or what's happening prevent me from being the version of myself that I want to be. Right. Sometimes that looks like achieving the tasks I want to achieve in business. Sometimes it looks like maintaining consistency in habits, but also, and deep on a deeper identity level, it looks like even though I'm feeling these things, even though my past is a part of my present reality, how do I not let that become my identity? How do I work with myself and collaborate with myself so I can feel what I feel, learn what I need to learn, but still be the version of myself that I want to be and not just be the version of myself that this emotion is expressing. Making sense, guys? That is what we are moving into, which I am so excited about. So let me officially open up this Thursday Q&A sessions. Any questions, content, life, what's going on? We got an hour. Let me serve you. We might go, Riandi, if you want to go first, seeing as you're here on a Thursday, which is a rarity.
Well, if I'm not sick, my kids are sick, so
That's all
it
right.
comes
Works
to
in your favor.
BYOC. Um, Honestly, I haven't looked at the content at all for week 5. I've
That's
had
right.
a week and a half of sitting on the edge of depression, so constant coaching myself away from said edge. Yeah, just a lot happening in life at the
Yeah.
moment. So
Okay,
I
so don't even worry about the module 5 content yet. Congratulations for keeping yourself on the edge and not dipping in, because I mean, that's a win right there, right? We've all been on the edge and we've all lost the battle with the edge. So if the battle is happening on the front lines of your depression right now, which is the edge, then absolutely phenomenal. The fact that you're able to coach yourself and at least maybe not heal it or get beyond it, but at least maintain that edge, that's a massive, massive win there. What have you been doing to successfully stay on the edge of depression versus falling into depression? How have you been coaching yourself? What's been coming up there?
I think for me this time it was more just sort of knowing to actually look at what's going on, kind of stopping myself from feeling the emotion and going, okay, cool, but why am I feeling this way? Like what triggered it? It's been difficult for the sense that I sort of know what triggered it, but I don't understand why that triggered it. So I haven't been able to sort of delve into like I just
Mm.
can't figure it out. But that's okay. So I think just that whole thing of like every time I sort of felt my emotional brain sort of taking over, um, I would sort of stop and just go, okay, what's happening? Is this new? Has something else happened? I've also had quite a few people praying over me, and that's makes a massive difference.
Really
Um,
does.
so yeah, I think it's more just this time instead of just kind of letting it happen, sort of kind of trying to take that step back constantly of going, okay, I'm letting it go again. Why is this happening? What's this happening? What need am I trying to fulfill? What need do I need to like be working on? So just yeah, just going through everything, but it's like there's parts that I just can't conclude. which is why it's
Yes.
not coming. That's why I'm not moving away
Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
That's why you're on the edge. You're not in it, but you're also not out of it. Yeah. Well, look, honestly, this has come up today for a reason. Parts content, like module 5, we literally unpack that exact process. You'll find that the actual, okay, I understand what's happening. I see the process, but like, why is this still happening? Yeah, module 5 will answer those questions for you. So beautiful time to be where you're at this moment. And also a question that you get the opportunity to ask yourself, and whether or not you want to start asking yourself this question now, or whether or not you want to ask this question once you've finished, module 5 and module 6 and you have all the knowledge and information, is ask yourself this question: are you able to surrender the need to know why to God? Does
Mm.
that make sense? Like, do I truly do I need God to show me why? Do I need to discover why this is happening? Or can I surrender the need to know why it's happening to God and just allow it to happen, knowing that I'm releasing emotions from past experiences, right? Knowing that I'm finally not suppressing everything. And also knowing that I'm building resistance, knowing that I don't know what God has planned. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is that I actually have the capacity to deal with this and not let it take me over. So I'm going to be really thankful for that. And
Yeah.
when it comes up, like I'm so thankful that this time around you've placed people in my past to teach me the knowledge, because I'm not smashing myself in the depths of anxiety. I'm so thankful I'm on the edge, and this is a different experience. I can look in at it from the edge. I can look around on the edge, and I'm really thankful for that. So whether or not you show me why, thankful. I thank you for keeping me on the edge.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah,
make
it
sense?
has
And
been, I feel like it has been quite encouraging in that sense of being able to go, okay, cool, I'm not going to allow myself to go there, instead of just ending
yes,
and going, how do I get out of it? So that has been a
yeah.
massive blessing, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I would suggest spend the next couple of days in gratitude about that, and who knows, maybe then you will figure out, maybe the why will naturally land. Do you know what
Mm,
I mean? And again, like we have all these different parts of us and all these different protectors, and sometimes we have emotional and psychological blocks. It's like, I can't figure out why. And a lot of the times it happens because we're trying to kind of like force ourselves down into a memory maybe, or an experience. Who knows what it might be down there, right? Like there's a lot going on down there. But what's happening is there's still a part of you that's like, no, no, I'm protecting you from figuring out why. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
I'm not going to allow you down there just yet. And a lot of the times, what can happen is that when that protector part shows up, that manager part, just to speak in a little bit of past term, it's actually managing your ability and pretend like stopping your ability from going down into it, because the role of that part is to manage this experience, right? I'm
mm,
going to manage it in any way I can. And if you get too close, we're going to call the firefighters, right? Then we're going to put out this big emotional reactive spot fire. Or sorry, we're going to put this out with a big emotional reaction to kickstart an old pattern. Because if I've kickstarted an old pattern, you're not looking down here, which is where our true fear is. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
there's a whole lot of internal systems going on there within your parts. And what can diffuse that sometimes and really help is just recognize, like, oh wow, like I'm actually really thankful for these blocks, these things I call blocks. I'm thankful because they're protecting me. They're protecting me from pain and hurt. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? And I'm able to actually stand on the edge and be happy and grateful and still live life at a time where I would have just been spiraling right now. So rather than be like, oh, I can't figure that out, I'm going to be, well, thank you actually for bringing me here. You thank you to
mm,
this part of me, this protector. Thank you. Even though I don't fully understand what you're doing, I know you're preventing me from finding the real cause, because the real cause is a lot of pain down there.
mm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like build relationship with a part of you that's blocking you from getting underneath it. And when that relationship happens, you can then, it'll probably just, oh, well, that's why you have that, because of that, or that memory, or oh, wow, okay, this is the thing I need to work on. Hey, God, come and help me in here. I've just found this thing and it's big. I've just found this memory, or I just recognize a truth about myself that it was actually me that was in the wrong. And all these times I thought it was someone else. Like, God, okay, thank you. Can come into this part with me, God. Come into this moment right now, God. I need you here.
Yeah.
Is that making
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So start with gratitude and love, and I'm going to celebrate the crap out of you for being on the edge. Reminds me of that scene from Shrek when he's like, "I'm a donkey on the edge." I don't know if you've seen Shrek enough to know to be able to quote it like I have. Thank you, children.
I just know the whole, I can't feel my toes. I don't
Yeah,
have it.
yeah. No, no, no toes. In essence, that's what's going on right now. You're like, they can't find the wounds. Like, no wound, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
creating anxiety, Donkey creates anxiety around not being able to feel the toes he doesn't have. And
yeah,
sometimes we
exactly.
can create anxiety not being able to get to an answer that we're just not supposed to find right now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there we go.
Yeah, so
Love Shrek.
right, so Donkey's Shrek's teaching us every day, right? So in essence, Donkey's like, I don't have any toes, and then the fear goes away because the fear of not having toes disappears when he realizes I'm not supposed to have toes. Potentially with you, it's like,
Yeah,
oh, I could be grateful for this. Oh, now that the anxiety about why I can't figure out why is gone, and that's better.
yeah,
I would rather not being able to figure out why, but not have the anxiety around it. I would rather that than not being able to figure out the why, which is your truth, and then adding anxiety to it. Like, why can't I find it? Does that make sense?
100%.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank
So
you.
stop looking for toes. Shrek is just a great teacher. Oh, the people watching this replay are going to be like, is he quoting Disney movies again or kids' movies again? The answer is yes. Awesome stuff, Riande. We might go with LK. You happy to just watch and observe in the background? Totally understand. I understand your journey and where you're at. Yes, awesome, wonderful, phenomenal. We might go with Ronnie if you're available. Not sure what you're doing. Yes, we'll go with Ron Dog, and then we'll go with Valerie.
Sounds like we're all having a wonderful time lately. Um, uh, yeah, I haven't actually had a look at the next module either yet. Just because of uni, and then my ex has decided to start picking some pretty big fights with me.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of dealing with that at the moment. But it's just that the same. What I did notice was dealing with that is I started to sort of fall back into those old loops. Like, man, I wanted to
Mm,
like unconscious urge to just start drinking again. Like it was
mm,
so strong, and I haven't felt that in a long time. Long time.
mm. Has this been over the last couple of days, just by chance?
Yeah, it's pretty much. Oh well, yeah, since Monday, since I got the kids, really.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. So do you guys know what's been happening since you
that
guys know
red.
that we had a full moon and we had an eclipse as well? We had two of the celestial bodies that have enough gravitational force to manipulate the massive weight of the oceans on our planet, therefore the liquids and fluids inside of us. So you guys are aware that like it's not blasphemy to recognize that the gravity of the moon, when we have a full moon, it changes our emotional state because it shifts. Like our body is 76% water. The moon has the power to affect the water in our body and just move it and slosh it around in different ways in different areas. And when it does that, it shakes up old emotional wounds. Therefore, it shakes up old psychological patterns. Therefore, it shakes up old behaviors and habits and actions, which is why people go crazy at the full moon, right? Because literally the biofluid within their body is no longer in the same position it was, and it is gravitationally being drawn out to the surface because that's what gravity of the moon does. And as it's doing that, it's removing its ability to suppress what was suppressed. Even unconscious suppression, I don't know because the environment hasn't been triggering me lately. Right? Like sometimes we don't know what triggers we still hold on to because we've done this work to change our life and you haven't had your ex around to trigger you, right? And now your ex is around again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. Well, my ex is around, or even if she's not around, all of this biofluid shifts within our body, all the suppressed emotions and stories and old habits that are just biologically wired and meshed into who we are, they just start to surface a little bit. And we don't have access to what we know, which is the growth and transformation we've been on, because what we are experiencing is the emotional reflections from yesterday's mirror.
Okay. Well, how long is this going to last for? Because I'm kind of over it.
Usually 4 or 5 days. That's when the full moon has its cycle, has its crazy period. On a full moon is always worst. And then you have things like the blood moon, the hypermoon. You have the eclipses, which is wild. That's when the sun, the moon, and the earth in that perfect lunar eclipse. So we have the three. So yeah, it was a blood moon too. It was a big red one, which is probably why you're seeing blood, right? But that doesn't mean you've gone backwards. That doesn't mean you don't have access to anything. What that means is you experience the biochemical shift of the celestial bodies, which have the ability to affect gravity on our Earth. Like it affects us biologically, it affects us chemically, it affects us within our levels of water. Does that make sense, Ron Dog?
Oh yeah, I've never heard it explained like that. I've heard about it before, but
Yeah.
it's all to me been so
Woo
I don't
woo.
um I don't know, out there stuff when I've had it explained to me, and usually
Yeah.
coming from someone who's pretty out there themselves.
From like, I'm a
We know.
spiritual healer. I am here to help you heal. Yeah, 100%, right? Like it has been used for witchcraft and these different practices, and people channel energies in it because they're so, chemically and vibrationally altered, but it doesn't change the science behind the fact. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the moon is massive. When it rotates around the Earth, it changes the position. It pulls with it the tides, the weight of the entire ocean. It moves it around the Earth with it. Well, we're 76% water. It's going to move us around with it as well. It's science. It's not woo-woo, right? It's woo-woo when you pray to the moon and do like a little la 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 and align your chakras and sacrifice a small goat. That's mystical woo-woo. That's witchcraft. Probably wouldn't recommend that unless you want to revoke your heaven pass. Um, but the science is still the science.
Mm.
Make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, okay. Mm. Well, yeah, that does explain a lot too. And I've also had my sister here for the last month, and she left on Sunday.
Mm.
Yeah, she stayed at my place, and there was like a little bit of unpacking old wounds with her as well. But I just kept trying to tell her not to like. I just kept trying to tell her like it's all good. It was when we were kids, and she
Yeah,
would,
yeah,
it was like she was having a very hard time like sort of dropping it and letting it go. And I just
yeah,
said to her, I was like, if I can forgive you, you got to learn to forgive yourself because I doesn't make a difference to me.
yeah,
Um,
right, yeah.
yeah, like not anymore. I just sort of went like it's okay, but yeah, she still definitely is struggling pretty bad, but mainly with guilt with her, I think. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then she just sort of and she would keep saying the same sort of thing again that she was like, she would say things like oh well, she used to sort of use me to protect herself as
Mm,
and a lot of that was from lies. And then she said to me, she's like, even as a kid, I still wouldn't do it back to her. I still never
mm,
did. And I just said, yeah, because I've just that's not like that's not who I am, and that's not what
mm.
I do. But she's still beating herself up over it. And I kept saying to her, it's like the actions of a child in a survival situation, and you are doing learnt behavior from their parents. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Great psychological breakdown of it. Does she have faith?
No, so I talked to her a little bit about that, and about as far as it got was like, oh yeah, mum told me you were a Christian now, and then sort of I don't know, all I would say was my perspective of it, but she had a bad experience with Mormon church as well as I did, and I think she's not ready anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Here's if you ever wanted to, and maybe this will serve everyone else in the room. Here's a great realization and analogy for people who have been hurt by a church or by a particular religion. And I can share this with you because my mum was the same. And it was mum. It was actually Calvary Church up here in Townsville. She was going to Calvary Church back when it was Calvary Temple, like way, way, way back in the olden golden days. You know what I mean? We're talking like some 70s and 80s, or sorry, 60s and 70s, right? Um, but back then it was all about fire and brimstone, hell, and and it was kind of like a religious cult back then, to the point where everyone they were like forced to stand up, kneel down. They would have to repent from their sins publicly, and it was all about shaming you for your sins publicly. And then and if you're a sinner, you're going to hell. It wasn't a message of love and about Christ and about God. It was a message of shame and pain and sin, right? That's what it was about. So she had horrible, horrible experiences, and I was just thinking about it one day, and I was asking God. I was like, God, like, how do I help someone? And all of a sudden, I had this thought, this idea, this analogy out of nowhere. If if someone went into the forest and broke a branch off a tree, and then came out and hit you with that tree, would you then hate all forests, or hit you with that branch? Would you hate all forests? Would you hate every single tree?
Nah.
Right? So this is what happens sometimes, right? Like someone will break a stick off something and then hit us with a stick. And we have this blanket statement to go, all religion is bad. I had a bad experience once. All religion is bad. I hate God. I can't do it. I'm not going to step into it because I was once hit with a branch. Do you know what I mean? It's like hating the forest, in this instance, God, or all religion, in this instance, the tree, because someone chose to break off a piece of that tree and hit you with that. So maybe allow that analogy sit. And when people are struggling and you kind of want to give them a logical understanding and explanation of it for people who have been damaged with it, with compassion, with love in your heart, be open to them and maybe give them an explanation along those lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's I didn't use an analogy, but all I said, or this is what I believe, is that you can't blame the church for the actions of people, because all I say is like, well, what do you go against in the Bible? What do you think is wrong about the Ten Commandments?
Yeah.
And there's like, if people were doing harm and they were a part of the church, then they weren't actually following the Bible.
Yeah.
Bible says not to do that. So to me, they weren't a part of that, or they weren't doing the right things as a Christian. So why would I blame Christianity for the actions of a
Yeah.
person? And it takes away really at the end of the day the blame, or not the blame, but well, actually,
Yeah.
the blame from the person. And instead of
100%.
putting it on them for their actions, you're putting it on a religion or a church.
Yeah.
And that's not a real. It's an ideology. It's not a physical thing.
100%. Yeah.
But
Why hate the church because someone hit you with a stick? Yeah. You know, oh, sorry, why hate the forest because someone hit you with a stick?
yeah, 100%. I like it.
Yeah, solid stuff, bro. Solid stuff. And again, same thing I mentioned to Riandi. I almost called you Courtney then for some reason instead of Riandi. Same thing I mentioned, right? Like some of the answers that you're looking for, like when it comes to these emotions during the full moon and all these different things, it only reveals to us what's actually there. Does that make sense? Which means that even though you, as Ronnie, now live in life, Christian, the parts of you that are living your life now are doing a great job and everything's great. There's still parts of you that are trapped in those past experiences. And the evidence of that is, okay, well, when I'm triggered, what comes up? If peace comes up, if I'm hanging out with my sister, or sorry, if with your ex, and then she tries to do that thing, but just like all peacefulness and everything comes up in compassion, and you're not getting triggered or angered, then what that means is you've integrated all those parts into the version of you showing up today. You've integrated that into today's identity, and that's great. You've done the work, you've healed. Those parts of you feel seen and heard. Therefore, there's no need for them to be operating in the background. But when we are triggered, whatever emotions and experiences are triggered are only what's been left in there since those emotions and experiences were created at conception of that moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So full moon brings up a lot of old stuff because there's a lot of old stuff that parts of us are still hanging into. Let's just say 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you were under physical harm or something along those lines, or maybe even 10 years ago, these things we hold on to from kids. Even though we're now 30, 40 years old and we've lived a lot of life, there's still a part of us that's trapped in that past experience. Does that make sense? So when we are triggered, we don't bring that part to the present. We go back to where that part exists. Because whatever emotion is the strongest, we revert back to the stories of that emotion, the beliefs of that emotion, the value system of that emotion, the identity of that emotion, what level of needs or whatever needs we're trying to be fulfilled within that emotion as well.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't bring it forward, we go back because that's where the part of us is living, trapped in this reality, trapped in this psychological prison that we can't see, trapped in a matrix of its own making. And what is required is not for us to bring that part out here. Well, sometimes it is. What's required is for us to recognize where that part is and go back and provide that part what it needs. That's where the collaborate phase of BYOC comes in. All right. And I'm going to speak about this on Wednesday night anyway. But what you've been taught so far is all the really, really important bits about truly breaking down and investigating these different parts of us. Does that make sense? You've been equipped with the knowledge and now with tools to go back and coach yourself. So when old Ronnie's triggered, what's the story, belief? What's the blueprint for old Ronnie? What's the loops and patterns he's in? Right? What's his story, belief, value, identity? What needs is he trying to fulfill? Me as the coach through Separate Investigate, I can see that now because I understand the psychology framework. I understand how neuroscience wires and fires. I understand how the needs he's trying to meet those needs. And because I see that, I can look back and go, what is that part of me trapped in 2008, trapped in 2023? What does that part of me need? When I investigate, I know what it needs. I know what it's saying. And I can give that part of me, maybe it needs love, maybe it needs compassion, maybe it needs an ass kicking. What are its needs it's trying to have fulfilled? I can fulfill those needs. It feels really insignificant. It feels really unloved. It's trying to meet its need for safety. I can meet the need for that part. I can have a look at its value system and coach it out of it. I can coach that part of me through understanding its value systems. I can coach that part of me by helping it change its belief system. I can coach that part of me by helping it reframe its stories. I know all of this now. I can collaborate with myself and give myself what I needed back then. And when I do that, could happen once, could happen 2 or 3 times. You might need to work on this one part for a while because it's a big part. What will happen is you free it from the psychological prison of 2006. And when you free it from that prison and it feels fully seen and heard, that's the collaborate phase, it will then naturally integrate into your present identity. And the only thing you'll be left with is the memory without the emotion, otherwise known as the wisdom.
Gotcha. I like that.
That's what our next phase of this self-coaching journey is all about.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense, actually, because speaking to my psych, he said that the main idea of, processing trauma is that you're left with the memory, but without the emotional response.
100%.
And that's
Because
actually
the memory is the memory is what stops it from happening again. If you lost the memory, you might accidentally walk back into the same environment and then recreate it, right? I have no memory of how horrible my past relationship choices are because I suppress and forget. So now let me go into a new relationship. I keep creating this same thing. No, we need the memory, right? We need to forgive and not forget. We need to hold on to the memory of it because that's how we know how to navigate anything,
yeah,
right? And
that's
navigation without emotion is just moving forward. It's so easy.
yeah,
Does that make sense? You're like, you know what? Wisdom tells me not to put myself back in that same relational experience and then try and rewrite it. Wisdom tells me to avoid that. Wisdom tells me to recognize the signs early on of what was happening. What was I saying within myself? How did I jump into that? And wisdom will say, no, I recognize those signs early and I'm going to step back. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And if I see 1 or 2 of these flags or 1 or 2 of these signs, wisdom tells me, no, we're all good. I don't need to go back into that one again. I can see what that is. I've got the wisdom to recognize that. And because I have no emotional attachment to it, I can make the choice. I can step away, lean in, help, don't help, do push-ups, don't do push-ups, eat healthy, don't eat healthy, whatever the wisdom of that experience is for you.
yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Because, well, I'll give you a little bit of context because this one is it's more of a fight she's picking more than so much a old memory. But basically, like I had I did set a boundary with her because I had the kids on Australia Day, and she was meant to pick them up as soon as she got home, and she lied about when her plane landed so she could have the day to herself. And when she rocked up, she was like, "Oh yeah, the plane didn't land until 5:30." And I looked on the flight log, and it was a clear lie. So I called and I said, "Look, it's okay, but you're lying, and I can't do this stuff for you if you are gonna lie and do things like this." And instead of obviously, instead of having the conversation about what I was talking about, she tried to deflect and then try to get me to have an emotional response. And I was like, "Okay, cool. You can say all those things. That's fine. But I'll bring the conversation back to what we were saying, which is that you just lied, and it's proof." And then basically like her sort of and like her the way she operates is if something like that happens and she gets found out, then she attacks back and attacks back with like claims and just sort of throws stuff at me because she wants me to I think she wants me to have an emotional response. And then when I don't, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And Kai ended up crying, but he was saying to me that uh, his mum was pressing him heaps and trying to get information out of him to try and make it sound like I was a bad father. And then she threatened me with saying, "Well, we'll go to mediation then," because because she doesn't feel like we're having a respectful co-parenting. And then all I know is that if we end up in that sort of space, it's just going to be so much, like it's just going to be so much fighting. And she knows I'm a good dad. I know I'm a good dad, but it's not about that. It's about her wanting to pick the fight,
Yeah.
and it's silly.
About saving
So
face,
silly.
right?
Sorry.
It's about saving face, right? Like she's obviously carrying a lot of shame that she's not willing to face, and the shame is being caught out lying. So I'm assuming that's shame that's not just from your experience with her, but shame that's stacked on from every other time in her life, and probably her way of dealing with things with a kid as a kid was when she felt shame, or when she did something wrong, she was probably punished. You know, and so she learned, well, the truth isn't safe because if I say the truth and it turns out I'm wrong and then I'm punished regardless of whether or not it's the truth is out or not, then the worst thing that can happen to me is me being found out wrong. She actually has the same survival pattern as your sister.
Yeah.
Rather than being attacked for being wrong, she would throw someone else under the bus because that keeps her safe. Your sister learned as a child that it's better for you to be wrong than her to be wrong. It's better for you to be attacked than her to be attacked. And your ex just hasn't overcome that lesson yet and doesn't see how it's playing out right now. Because it's actually a greater threat for her to be found out that she's lying than it is to potentially break up the great relationship that you and the boys have. So she's not thinking about what's best for the kids. In this instance, and she isn't aware of this, unconsciously, she's throwing her kids under the bus because
Yeah.
to her psychology, that is safer than her being found out that she's wrong. Because her whole identity is I must be right.
Yep.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And even you just brought up memories of that shame thing. That's how her parents have talked to her. Even because we were dating for 9 years, I would even see it, where they would shame her.
Yeah.
And that's what she would do to me if there was, but it was like a constant thing. If she was upset,
Yeah.
would look for ways to try and shame me.
Yeah. Because
And
better you be shamed. Better you be shamed than her. Does that make sense? So and for her, it's not even about the specific actions. The actual threat is just shame itself. Right? So it is a threat that can be weaponized against you because if it's going out against someone else, it's not being thrown at her. So it's a threat and it's been unconsciously weaponized. So the work for her would be unpacking shame itself. Yes, that would mean the individual experiences that have created shame. But if anything can create shame, in this instance being caught out as lying, which also tells me she's probably out there assassinating your character, and she's probably out there saying that she's doing all the right things, and now you have evidence that she's not, which is then challenging her psychology, challenging or would potentially challenge the lies that she's created about who you are and who her is, which would then create more shame if that was found out. Can you see the theme that's happening here?
yeah. Well, I know that when we did break up, her after about a year, some of her like friends come up to me and told me the stories that she was making up, and some of them were so ridiculous, like unbelievable. And
Yeah.
I pretty
So
much
what happens? So what happens if this leaked photo of her lying about her flight times? Like, what happens if that comes out? What happens to the fabricated stories of lies that she has uh, created her reality around? That will all unravel. So can you see how this is more than just this one moment?
oh yeah, 100%.
This is a complete unraveling of her falsified reality. In the grand scheme of things, that's exactly what needs to happen, right? Because the truth will set you free. You can't live on an identity based in lies because you just have to keep lying then to then cover up the next lie, then lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. She's living in hell. Even she's probably avoiding the crap out of it, but she would be living in absolute hell. Her whole life is based around sin, around false truths, false identities, and false narratives that she has to control.
Yeah, and that has been the case for her whole life, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But the thing that where I don't understand is even when I say to her, I was like, if you do this, then you will be found out, because if we do go to mediation,
Yeah,
then
I'll show the text messages. Yeah.
these things are going to come in that what you're saying is a lie, and
Yeah.
then what you've actually done is going to come out, which I've never pushed on her. I just said I wanted you out of my life. That's it.
Yeah.
But then from like history of dealing with her is she fully believes that no, like when we go to meet, they're going to believe the lies and they're not going to believe the facts that you have, and that's going to be the way it is. And so it's like, well, do I just end up in mediation and doing that, and then this happens, or
Well,
this is where
let me ask you a better quality question. What can you control?
my actions, my responses, my
Yeah, can you actually control whether or not you end up in mediation?
no, not really, unless I was to tell her that and say, you really want to go to mediation because the like this is the loop that I'm stuck in, is whether I
Yeah.
do this or not.
Well, let me interrupt this loop right now. So if you can't really control whether or not you go on a mediation, and then when you get into mediation, you can't really control what she's going to say or what she's going to do, and the only thing you can control is just being calm, grounded, and just showing and sharing your experience, then if it's out of your control, all you can do is remain calm and not add fuel to the fire. That's it. Because you can't control whether or not you go to mediation. She can just make a phone call right now, and then all of a sudden you're getting a phone call from the mediation place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
okay.
you can't control that. So it's like, well, you know what? She's going to do what she's going to do. What you can control is when you go to mediation. Look, here's the thing. Here's when all of this started. Like I've got this here. I can't control what her reaction's going to be. I can't control what she's going to say or do. But you can control how much of a good father you are, and you can control what information you share and when you share it. So, mediation or no mediation? Well, you know what? That's out of my control. What can I control? I can just not let anxiety tell me what mediation could be, because I can't control that. All I can do is share what I can share.
Mm.
And in that space of separation, just quick little separate, investigate into probably what's going on in her mind and her life and her emotions, and how much time she is probably thinking about this, and how many lies she is spreading and having to back up. She's literally living in hell right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So maybe this is just a moment to go, okay, I can, even though it's me that's being targeted, I can have compassion, because if I was in that state, that would be wild. I'm not going to talk to her. I'm not going to tell her I have compassion for her. I'm not going to do anything. But what's going to help me move through what I can't control is recognizing I'm good. I've got this evidence. I'm going to win this. I'm a good dad. If it does come to that, you know what I mean? Like if it does come to that, you're a great father.
Mm.
And I'm sure you have plenty of people who would write amazing stat decks about that. You know what I mean? Myself included. So you've got all of the things working for you in your favor. And to top it off, you've got a trump card. You're walking with God. You've brought your children to God. Do you really think he's going to allow them to be taken away from you, to be living under someone who lives in sin, even if it's sin from fear, lies, deceit, aggression? Do you really think that that's what our Lord is going to allow?
No, that's true.
No. And what it might be is the very opportunity that she needs to potentially start asking big questions in her life. Maybe what she needs is to completely break and go, God, I need you. Does that make sense? The truth always comes out.
Yeah.
And what did Jesus say? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life.
Yeah. I like it. That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're right, bro.
Yeah.
All good. Just sit and fester on that one.
That's good.
Good festering. Yeah. Yes. Good stuff, Ronnie. Thank you. Valerie, we'll round off today's session. How you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Ronnie and Riandy, for your contribution to that. That was really good. Thanks, George. And I guess my question is, can the, when you spoke about the moons, can it be in the opposite effect? I know last month I was probably having a moment when the moon was happening, but this time round, I don't know what's happened, but it's just like I've upgraded. It's just like, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And even this morning, I gave myself that self-trust of, okay, I'm going to jog to the car park. Okay, I'm going to jog to the bridge. And I did it, so I'm building the self-trust. And I think I've done more in the last friggin' 2 months than what I've done in all of last year, to be honest. So And I credit it to this program as well because I'm now seeing patterns and all sorts of things. And even my breath was easier when I was jogging this morning. So to me, that means I'm kind of out of the survival and to the next in the middle, kind of going to the next level, if that makes sense, in the brain. So, yeah, I guess that was my takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To answer your question, 100%. That's why when you said it, I started getting bouncy because this has been me for the last few months, right? When full moons come, I'm so happy on the full moon. I have boundless energy. Usually on the night of the full moon, I struggle to sleep between about 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 1 a.m. and 4 a.m.
I couldn't sleep.
Moon energy, right? But what I've found, and I'm going to say, the work that I've done and the forgiveness I have in my heart, that is nothing other than the grace of God. When the full moon comes, it shakes up. But what it shakes up in me is what's in my unconscious, which is happiness, which is joy, which is reflections of the work that I've done. I've been through your stage, Riande. Whew! I've been through your stage, LK. I've been through your stage, Valerie. I've been through your stage, Ronnie. And everyone else who ever watches this replay, I've been through those stages, right? And that's what's being brought when the moon is gravitationally shifting my cells around and drawing up and changing blood pressure and all those different. When the moon is doing that to me, it shakes up joy. Does that make sense? And I will tell you this: it started when I noticed it prior to finding Christ. I noticed it before God, but when I found God, the joy that it would shake up was nothing more than the joy of the Lord. It was next. It was like I'd sort of brought myself up to here, and I was like, here's good. Here is me running my business. Here is me understanding how to coach myself. Here is me barely getting triggered anymore. Here is me feeling really good and happy and loving. All right. But when I found him, the level of joy and goodness and grace I feel, I look forward to full moons now. All right. When full moons come, I hope someone calls me with their problems because I've got them. I've got you. If you call me on the full moon, all right, I'm going to help you work through everything. Do you know what I mean? So yes, Valerie, it will bring up whatever is down below. Bring up whatever is down below. It's making sense? So that tells me that. Can I share with you the psychological science behind what that tells me? That tells me at least in the last 28 days, you have been more consistent, more congruent, more integral to yourself, right? You have taken actions that you would have once avoided, and you have avoided actions that you would have once taken. So when the full moon is shaking things up and your psychology goes, quick, let's create a meaning for it and let's get to yesterday's yesterday. Before we get to yesterday's yesterday, we have to get through yesterday. And your last 28 yesterdays have probably been pretty consistent. It's like, okay, well, yesterday's yesterday isn't too bad because yesterday's pretty good. Well done, Valerie. All right, well, let's just celebrate this that's coming up. Right? Because whatever comes up is a window into more of that same emotion. If what's coming up is fear and depression, what else do we notice? Freaking fear and depression. But if what's coming up is joy, happiness, like, I'm actually doing pretty good, what do we notice? In the same environment that we notice fear and depression, we notice things are doing pretty good. And this is why consistency and integrity and small actions over a period of time, this is why I always talk about stacking evidence. All right? Because like getting to yesterday's yesterday, you have to get through yesterday. And if yesterday you stacked evidence that you're moving towards your goals, that you're becoming the identity that you want to be, that you're being more compassionate about, and you've got 28 of those yesterdays, well, when you go back, you're not going back through a bunch of crap. The ink is still fresh on the consistency because you have stacked evidence over a period of time that you are a different person, that you can handle your emotions, that you will be compassionate, that you won't judge and shame yourself, that you won't keep repeating past mistakes, that you are worthy of the love of God, that you are enough. Is this making sense, guys? Valerie, wonderful. Congratulations to you too. Yay.
Yeah. Well, it was quite interesting because yesterday it was just like when you sent that message the other night, it's just like I honestly am at capacity. I can't take anything else on right now. And that was me being honoring myself, maybe later in the year or next year, yes. But, and it was just like, oh, what am I feeling here? Oh, I'm not organized enough to have a VA or have someone to help me with all that. So, so I've started cleaning up my filing system on my computer, and that started yesterday.
And basic small actions.
Yeah.
The whole like, oh, I need a VA versus I'm ready for a VA. You're getting ready to hand over some of the administration or small tasks in your business to another person, which will free up your time to focus on growth, on the next thing that's going to help you grow.
Yep.
It's a brilliant sign.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm collaborating with all the other people in Qigong. So I've more or less done a blanket 9-week program for the Quantum Embodied program. So 6 or 7 documents that I can share with everyone. So that was my contribution for the last week, I guess. So I'm just and I think collaborations for me are the way forward as well, because they actually make me accountable.
Yeah.
as well. I know I'm being accountable to myself as well in the other actions like health and things like that. But when it comes to business, I think I just need having someone there saying, okay, do this, do that. And I've recorded 4 podcast episodes with Brent. So that all happened on Monday, I think, the rest of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
what a
onward
share,
and
what a
upward.
win.
It's all. I know it's been a really massive week, but and
I like
so
that.
much energy, because I've been doing my Qigong and going to the gym constantly as well. So
Valerie's just like, on the edge though, Valerie, that's good, right? Because there's 2 sides of the edge. The one side of the edge is depression. The other side of the edge is Valerie. All right.
right now. And onward and upward.
100%. Yeah. Onward and upward is nice. Sometimes it's onward and inward, and then onward and downward, and then no more onward. All right. I want to get offward. All right. Sometimes we go to offward. That's a place to be in. Great stuff. Great share. All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Again, just to rehash, Module 5 content. Definitely, I think it's only 2 videos. Module 5, 2 or 3, not too sure. We've got until Wednesday. 3. Okay, don't guilt or shame yourself. Right? If you can't do it, I'm going to explain it anyway. Be nice if you can. Don't guilt and shame yourself, but also don't give yourself excuses that aren't valid. Do you know what I mean? Like, rest if you need to rest, but if it feels like, okay, this isn't resting, this is rusting. Like, I'm not resting right now, I'm just rusting. Then maybe get in there and use some of that time, to watch some of the content if you can, and we'll crack into it on Wednesday night. Module 5, getting towards the tail end. This is great stuff. No worries. And also, guys, do you mind if I share this recording with my UK guys? I think they'll get a lot of value out of what's being shared here. That's okay? Yeah, awesome. I'll drop this one for them as well. Thanks very much, guys. I will see some of you on Sunday. I will see all of you next Wednesday night. Much love. God bless. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.